All right, perfect. So welcome everyone. Good morning. My name is Japera, and I welcome you to another Brunch and Learn brought to you by The Qualified. Listen, we are here on the third Thursday of every single month to bring you exciting, enriching, and informative presentations that are conducted by industry professionals, experienced industry professionals at that. And so we want to just say thank you to our audience members, those who are joining us live today, those who are also streaming from other platforms. We thank you so much for your continued support and for taking the time to be with us today. So thank you all so much. We have a super exciting presentation and day lined up. Now, a little bit about The Qualified. We're here to serve you and the health information profession in many ways by providing continuing educational opportunities, tutoring, online courses, certification exam prep, job placement, recruitment, you name it. We are here for you. So please check out our website. It's listed at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side, and you can visit that website for more information. Now, listen, we're going to get into today's presentation. Again, we are excited about today because it is brought to us by a man who is IT and cybersecurity extraordinaire, is what I'll call him. So Dr. Joseph J. Burt Miller Jr., he is a United States Air Force veteran. He boasts an impressive 15-year career in IT and cybersecurity. He serves or has served key U.S. government sectors, including the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, and now as a Cybersecurity Directorate Division Chief at the National Security Agency. Dr. Burt Miller is renowned for his cybersecurity expertise, empathetic leadership, and community building skills. He holds a Doctor of IT with a specialization in information assurance and cybersecurity. And Dr. Burt Miller is a certified professional with credentials like CompTIAA Plus, Security Plus, Network Plus, PSI-SA Plus, AWS Cloud Practitioner, and PMI PMP. A bunch of credentials and abbreviations that I don't know, a bunch of acronyms, but we get to learn about them today. So his extensive background and passion for cybersecurity drive his current venture. His current venture is the Cyber Coffee Hour podcast. And we certainly hope to learn more about that, Dr. Burt Miller. So I hope you are ready. I hope everyone who's with us today is ready for a dynamic, engaging presentation as we dive deeper into IT, cybersecurity, cyber attacks, and I hope that we can find ourselves some kind of way. The health information professionals can find ourselves in this day. So Dr. Burt Miller, I welcome you. We welcome you to the Brunch and Learn for today, and we turn it over into your hands.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, thank you to the qualified, the whole team, the qualified team for having me on. And I'm very excited for being here today, especially within this month because October is Cybersecurity Month. So as I mentioned earlier before we got online, that the geek in me is very excited about doing this presentation, but also doing this within October. Just something that hits different for me. So again, very thankful and blessed to be here to share some time with you all today. So for today's presentation, Beyond Boundaries, exploring cybersecurity on a new level with sophisticated cyber attacks powered by generative AI. Next slide, please. All right. I know Japera just kind of touched over a couple of certifications. Yes, I've been within the cybersecurity IT field over 15 years. Myself, I am a Mount Vernon, New York native, Jamaican bloodline heritage. I've served in the Air Force for 4 years. Then after that, I went right into civil government service. So I bounced around from working at the Department of Veterans Affairs in New Jersey. Then I went over to the Midwest. I worked over at the Department of VA over at Omaha, Nebraska. I worked at Offutt Air Force Base there again in Nebraska. Came back to the East Coast. Worked at the DoD Cybercrime Center for a couple of years. Then DHS, and then now I'm a current role at NSA. So I've been thankful and blessed for the career and experiences that I've been afforded during this time. All right, next slide, please. So, just to give a little background on Talawa Cyber. So, Talawa Cyber is my new, I would say, probably my latest venture. Um, so, just to give a quick background as to how Talawa Cyber got started. Um, I started a study group on Discord, and it's called the DRJJBMJ Study Hall. So it's just pretty much just an acronym of my name. But I had started that a couple of years ago. This is when I was back at working at DHS. At that point in time, I was pursuing the PMP certification, and that's the project manager professional certification. And I did the boot camp for a week, and then they asked me if, hey, you are ready to take the exam, and I was like, no way. If those of you that may be familiar with boot camps, they give you a ton of info over the course of couple, 3, 4 days, and especially you take the exam afterwards. So again, as I said, I was not ready to do that. So I tried studying on my own and quickly realized that wasn't working. I felt like I needed some sort of accountability, so that's when, just really kind of advertising. So I think I really leveraged LinkedIn to say, hey, anyone pursuing the PMP, let's get together. So we did that, and I had a couple folks. It was just a handful of people, like three or four. I mean, not a lot, but we were grinding. We would meet each night and just doing a ton of like practice exams, practice questions together. And I'm gonna be honest, we were bombing at first. Like we were scoring like 30s and 40s. Um, but we kept going. I think the biggest thing is the consistency, and we stayed together, and soon enough we saw those 30s and 40s turn into 80s and 90s. And until that time, then we were ready to take the actual exam, and then those of us who took that exam, we all passed with above target marks. And I'm very proud of that because actually one of the members who passed initially, he was able to land a job with Amazon. So, and really be able to provide for his family. He was able to move and everything like that. So I think that really warmed my heart, and that really spoke to me. And that's something I said, I may have something here. So kind of use that same formula, did it again as far as for the next certification. I think it was the Sizer Plus I went to next. But either way, kind of same thing. I made adjustments as I learned and moved on. But then again, we starting to see, we studied together, then we were able to again pass the certification, and more people started joining, word of mouth, things like that. And then so pretty much what started with only about 5 members now is, I'd say we have like over 900 members now, and offering like over at least 5 or 6 different certifications from when I started. So with that said, that's where and again, when I did that, I started the study hall just really out of necessity at the time. I was just really I just needed accountability to pass the exam. But with that said, from what I've seen, how it's really evolved, that's where Talawa Cyber really comes in, because I want Talawa Cyber is going to serve as a global platform, be able to work with other industry members, industry leaders as it pertains to cybersecurity or IT certification training. Most notably, as recently, I'm able to partner with Jason Dion. So within a cybersecurity, or at least within a cybersecurity IT training space, he's probably one of the biggest names as pertains to that. You could pretty much find him on Udemy, Coursera, all the different platforms when it comes to cyber training. So able to so honored to have that partnership with him, and his new venture called Accolade. So we're working together again to just really help and preparing folks to, as they're entering the IT cybersecurity space, to have that proper training, and that they're well equipped. So when they ready to get to that first position, they're able to step in and really have immediate impact. So that's part of the driving force behind what I'm doing with Talawa Cyber. Really want to be that force to make sure that we're helping people be prepared and really thrive when it comes to cybersecurity. Next slide, please. All right, so let's dig into this. So for one, and again, as I said, I'm very excited we're here as it pertains to Cybersecurity Month. So as we get started, I think we should take a little time to learn about how cyber came about. Because even when I started, so when I was in the military, I did not do IT at that point in time. For me, I changed careers. I did HVAC, and those may not know that's heat and ventilation, air conditioning. So I did that in the Air Force, and then still did that probably the first 5 years at the VA before I cross trained over to IT. So even back then, cyber wasn't called cyber then. It was called, yeah, just I think it was called just like communications. So but anyway, but I think it's important that we look at the evolution of cybersecurity. So, we look at the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, emergence of firewalls and intrusion detection systems. I know a lot of us may be familiar with the Norton antivirus. Probably we have that installed on our PCs right now, or some sort of antivirus software. But if let's take a look at the 70s to begin with. And so in 1971, you had the creeper virus. So that was considered like the first computer virus. Was created as an experimental, like self-replicating program. And that's how viruses work. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with that, but as far as when it's a type of malware. So like viruses, they need an executable, or they need assistance from the end user to help to run the virus or to execute the virus. So for example, someone could embed a virus in a program that's laced with malware. So when you click on that program or click on that file, that virus is now activated on your machine, and however that attacker designed or wrote that virus for what it wanted to do, now it has free reign on your machine. Um, so uh, going forward, if you look at 1972, the Reaper program was developed to remove Creeper, marking the first antivirus like solution. So that's kind of the first time we're starting to see like some sort of solution for in remediating different types of malware. In 87, the first commercial antivirus products emerged, including solutions for the Atari ST. In 87, so in that picture down below, um, John McAfee developed a virus scan. So that's one of the earliest commercial antivirus software products. And you see him there. He has the sad computer face because it's he's trying to bring that PC back to health. So in 1988, antivirus companies like McAfee and later Kaspersky were founded by members of the Virus L mailing list. 91, Symantec released Norton Antivirus. Quickly gained a lot of popularity for comprehensive detection capabilities. Um, yeah. So and again, and that's where we see like the first, probably like the foundation of those things. We're talking about the viruses, antivirus software, and then we see how we've evolved or advanced when we see as far as like antivirus, solutions or defense. We have firewalls and intrusion detection systems. Um, and again, so I say like, and again, one thing I want to share, yeah, in the early 90s, firewalls became more prevalent as internet usage grew. In the mid 90s, intrusion detection systems or IDS, they were developed to monitor network traffic for like suspicious activity. So IDSs, you have two versions. You have IDS and IPS. Of course, IDS, intrusion detection systems, and you have IPS, intrusion prevention systems. So I, IDS is more passive. It will let you know that okay, there's something on your system, on your network, but it won't take any action. But IPS will. not only detect it, but also take some sort of action, where they'll quarantine, a particular malware or whatever the case is, something that shouldn't be on your system. It will take it a step further and do some sort of remedial action to protect your network and system. And then in the late 90s, antivirus software began, incorporating additional features, like as I mentioned, like firewalls and anti-spyware tools. So yeah, so we started seeing that as time went on into the late 90s. We can go to the next slide, please. All right, so just kind of continuing on. So we get into the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. So um, we'll start. So the early 2000s, that's where we started to see cloud computing emerge. I don't know if all first heard when cloud computing came about. Everything was cloud. Probably even see it in movies and everything like that. That was a big buzzword when it comes to cloud computing, and I think now that has now turned into AI, where AI is the big buzzword. So, and again, I think as technology evolves, we'll have something else that's new, that'll take over or dominate the space. But yeah, but we first started to see that in early 2000s. In the mid 2000s, the rise of smartphones led to development of mobile security solutions. Um, in the late 2000s, we have ransomware attacks. Ransomware attacks became, more common, requiring new defense strategies. So I find this, very near dear to me because, so for myself, my mother, she's a nurse in New Rochelle, New York, and we've had discussions about the importance of protecting data, data that's supporting, hospital networks. Um, we're talking about PII and very sensitive information, patient information that's needed to make sure that, maybe talking about prescriptions or, having the right dosage for certain things for different patients is very important to make sure that everything's accurate or having access to that data. So when we talk about ransomware, you'll it has become a prevalent problem because cyber attackers will target, industries such as hospitals or the health industry, I should say, because they seem to be vulnerable and they'll try to take advantage. They'll lock down a computer network or system, in this case for a hospital, and they say, hey, if you want your data back, you got to pay $3 million. And a lot of times, as it comes to still using the hospital example, some hospitals will pay because it's very important to have that data because maybe dealing with someone who's on a respirator or so, someone who's in dire need, and having that specific data, having access to that data is very important because it could be a matter, it literally is a matter of life and death that they have the correct information and having access to that information. So um, it has been um, it has been a struggle, honestly, I would say, because some say, should you pay? Because whether you should or should not pay, because if you do pay, does that open the door for more attackers to, come again and you go back to the well again and try again because they know you'll pay? But then if you say no, it may deter them from coming back. But then now, what's the impact? Like, does somebody die now because I didn't, as a hospital, you didn't pay that ransomware, whatever that $2 or $3 million. Yeah, you stood your ground, but now, you may have that impact of loss of life or, anything like that. So it's very hard. And we see it different industries, schools, even government agencies, things of that nature. So it's very prevalent, but attackers do seem to target, probably one of their favorite targets is the health industry and specifically hospitals. Um, so we go into the 2010s. So we look at APTs, or advanced persistent threats, and IoT security. Um, so in the early 2010s, APTs gained prominence, with nation state actors, nation state actors such as like North Korea, Iran, uh, nations like that, where they're conducting sophisticated long-term cyber campaigns. Those that are, they're pretty much playing like the long game. They're not doing like a one quick hit. they're penetrating systems, and they're learning about their adversary, and they're staying, trying to stay, incognito to a sense, to where they can learn about, a particular system or network for an adversary or a rival nation. So for example, like North Korea, or ch even China, attackers, where, well, they'll attack U.S. systems or U.S. Networks, but they'll work to where they can stay on those systems for extended periods of time, so they can learn and really collect information to what I believe, to get to a point where they can have a more well orchestrated attack later on. So again, they're playing the long game. It's not just one quick hit, they attack, and they're done. No, they're really trying to stay on their systems, and that's why they're called APTs, persistent threats. They stay on. They pretty much are relentless. Um, so in the mid 2010s, the proliferation of Internet of Things, or IoT devices, they created new security vulnerabilities. So if you look at IoT devices such as, I think the biggest example, like those of you that may have like a Nest thermostat in your house, that's considered an IoT device, Internet of Things. So you're able to, so you have that functionality where you're able to, control the temperature settings within your house. You'll be able to, using like your phone, your smartphone, as I just mentioned, talk about mobile phones and mobile devices, iPads, things of that nature. You're able to have that control and functionality, and it also brings convenience. But again, a lot of times these devices don't have the best security, and that increases the attack surface, where now attackers can use that. They have another entryway to infiltrate your network and your system, to really try to do some damage. Um, in the late 2010s, machine learning began to be incorporated into cybersecurity solutions. So we look at and that kind of goes into the 2020s now. So we look at AI-driven cybersecurity and threats. So AI and machine learning are being used to enhance threat detection and response. So a neural network diagram. So we have here, and I put an example there in the bottom middle there. So that's an example of a neural network diagram. So it's using the artificial intelligence in cybersecurity. Cyber criminals, excuse me, are leveraging AI to create more sophisticated attacks. So the so the so you see the PC on the bottom right there. So showing like a virus alert, like just showing like it's been compromised. Pretty much just symbolizing the evolving nature of cyber attacks or cyber threats. Um, the cybersecurity industry is focusing on developing AI-powered defense systems and more proactive security strategies. Next slide, please. So yeah, you may have heard of, generative AI. But what is generative AI? So generative AI refers to artificial intelligence systems that are capable of creating new content such as text, images, and code. These systems are pretty much based on large language models, or LLMs, you may have heard. Deep learning techniques allows them to learn patterns from existing data and generate new content that's similar in style and content. For example, using a generative AI, you can, so if you're using like Chat GPT, um, you have others like Copilot, Microsoft. They have their version of AI. A lot of different tools. A lot of different companies now, they're coming out with their version of different AI tools. But yeah, you can use generative AI. So you can put in a prompt. So just using kind of Chat GPT as an example. Actually, another one just came to mind. It was a Perplexity. For those who may not know, Perplexity .ai is another one as well. Actually, that's one of my favorite, to be honest. And the reason is because it's very detailed in the results it gives back to you. Actually gives you like references, so that way you're able to kind of verify the data and the source, where the information is coming from. So for me, that's my personal favorite. But But when you come with generative AI, you could put in a prompt, ChatGPT or Perplexity, say, hey, create a picture with an orange background and a little kid riding a bike, and it'll spit back out different images that will best replicate that. Now, it's not always perfect, of course. You may see some things because it is still learning. As we, when I say it, as far as AI or AI systems, large language models, the more information it gets, it's able to really fine tune and improve. Sometimes, if those of you that may have messed around with some AI tools, you may have tried to generate something, a picture or image, well, especially, I think AI has a hard time with human hands because sometimes if you try to ask it to, produce something with a picture that includes like a human, you may see it with like instead of five fingers, of course, you may see it made with six or like some sort of deformities because it hasn't quite got that part down yet. So, or you may see some misspellings on certain things. So that's again, and that's why you're starting to see a lot of maybe captions or disclaimers, I say, when it comes to AI tools. It'll say now, especially with ChatGPT, I know it definitely shows like, AI may get it wrong. Don't solely go off of this, in a sense. So, but at the same time, it can be good because it also could serve as a jumping point. We've seen people use AI to whether use it for homework or things of that nature. Now you do have to be careful because some folks have used AI and got kind of burned by it because AI tools should be used as a tool, it's not as a replacement. And what I mean by that, there was one example. I think it was in a law. It was a law example where there's one lawyer, he was using AI to write his cases, and kind of find out where the judge, I can't remember who, but it kind of he was found out that he was using AI. So pretty much as a result of that, he became disbarred, and then now it put into question of previous cases that he had won, whether he had used solely AI to solve his cases. So you do have to be careful. It should be like again, it should be a tool maybe to help kind of jumpstart your thinking on certain things for what AI can provide, but it should not be a replacement for again, what a human should be able to do, especially when it comes to a profession. When we talk about different professions like that, especially when it comes to especially within an area of law, you don't want to base it off of an AI tool solely. So do have to be careful when it comes to that. So we look at the different capabilities in cybersecurity. You have automated vulnerability discovery, intelligent threat detection and response, personalized phishing, and social engineering. So for automated vulnerability discovery, you have a generative AI that it can be used to discover vulnerabilities in software and systems, by generating and testing various inputs and scenarios. Intelligent threat detection and response, or IDR. AI powered systems can analyze vast amounts of data to identify different patterns and anomalies that may indicate a cyber attack, enabling detection, a faster detection and response. So the whole point of it is to you want to have that speed, you want to have the accuracy, but also once you do have that accuracy down, you want to have fast results so that way you're able to do your job better. If you look at personalized phishing and social engineering, you know, unfortunately, generative AI can be used by cyber criminals. As I mentioned before, it does, AI is, can be used for good and bad. Can be used by cyber criminals to create highly personalized phishing emails and social engineering attacks that are more likely to deceive victims. A phishing attack is someone like sends you an email, you're working at your company, and someone sends you an email, say, hey, I'm the manager of so and so. I need you to send me this info, or prompting you to maybe click something or whatever. And then now, as you do that, it increases that attack surface. Now you introduce that vulnerability into in this scenario to a company's network, and they're able to have free reign on your network now. And that's why it's always important. You may always see, I think with a lot of organizations, they would have that annual cybersecurity awareness training. So, you know, pay extra attention to those trainings because they do have a purpose. Because it's all to make sure that everyone plays a part in security. So make sure that everyone's doing their part, know what to look for, certain things. You may see you may receive an email from someone that's posing as someone else or someone within the company, but you may see maybe some minor misspellings in the email address or things like that. So that's why having that email excuse me, the cybersecurity awareness training is very important, because also make sure it's always up to date too, because these threats always evolve and change. Attackers are always thinking differently. How, okay, that didn't work, let me try this. So things are always evolving, and us as end users, and those who are protecting systems, we need to make sure that we're evolving as well, and we're staying up to date on the information that we have, that we work with. That way, we could best protect our networks and systems. So, when we look at the different potential benefits, excuse me, potential benefits and risks as it comes to generative AI. Again, yes, you have the enhanced threat intelligence and automated patching. So, enhanced threat intelligence, generative AI can help organizations gain a better understanding of emerging threats and trends by analyzing large data sets. Automated patching. So patching, of course, when you do have a vulnerability introduced into your network, patching is what remedies it, solves that issue, so that way your system can be back online again. So AI can be used to automate the process of applying software patches and updates, help reducing the risk of vulnerabilities being exploited. If we look at the risks, more sophisticated malware, harder to detect attacks. um, so for sophisticated malware, cyber criminals, they can leverage, generative AI to create more sophisticated and evasive malware. So that makes it harder to detect and neutralize. So if it's harder to find, if it's hard for you to find this type of, any sort of malware on your system, that's a win for the cyber attackers, because if you can't find me, I can still keep doing what I want to do on your system or on your network. So, um, that's one of the risks, probably a major risk, I'd say, when it comes to the utilizing generative AI in that sense. And then you have harder to detect attacks. Again, so AI powered attacks can be more difficult to detect because they can adapt and evolve over time. As I mentioned, it always going to evolve, always going to change, always trying to improve. So with that said, it makes it more challenging for traditional security measures to keep up. So again, just stressing that importance. Maybe what worked maybe 5 years ago is not going to work now. We have to make sure that we're evolving. We're understanding the trends. We're understanding, okay, how can we improve our defenses? What are some of the things we need to work on? How do we improve our training for our folks when we talk about, for organizations, like what they need to be cognizant of and what they need to be aware of? All right, next slide, please. All right, so we're looking at sophisticated attacks, and you see Batman. He's hard at work. Those who don't know, if you don't know by now, I'm a big geek. You know, I like watching my DC and Marvel. I'm more of a Marvel person, but I do like my DC characters. So Batman here, he's working hard in the on his back computer. But so he's helped me with these case studies. So for the first case study, so AI powered phishing. Um, so we have the use of GPT-4 to create convincing emails. So cyber criminals can leverage powerful large language models like GPT-4 to generate highly personalized and convincing phishing emails. That's very difficult to distinguish from legit messages. And again, and that's why you may hear me kind of stress this now, but that's why it's very, very important to that we are making sure that we're staying up to date and evolving as far as for our defenses, for our networks, because these attacks are getting more. they're getting more sophisticated, they're getting stronger, they're becoming more smart. They're playing on human emotion, human tendencies. So it makes it less likely for you to detect something or think something's out of the ordinary. And that's what makes it dangerous. So if you look at personalization at scale, so AI allows for the mass production of customized phishing emails. So it's targeting individuals with tailored messages, based on their personal information and interests. So again, so if you're big into let's say fishing, you know, you love to fish. That's your thing. You may receive a phishing email that's centered around fishing. So and now you're gonna look at that like, oh man, I love fishing. This is great. You're not gonna think anything of it because that's actually something that falls in line with your interests. And now your defenses are down because now it's something that you like and enjoy and you want to learn more about it. You're more than likely to click that link or download that file or whatever the case is, whatever the attacker's trying to get you to do. Um, the success rate is going to be higher now because now it knows what it is that you like. And it's playing on that. It's playing on that emotion and human interest. Um, Lastly, here for the case study, it's bypassing traditional email filters. So AI generated phishing emails that can often evade traditional email filters designed to detect spam and malicious content. So it's increasing their effectiveness. So if you look at case study number two, so we're looking at adversarial AI attacks. We're looking at manipulating AI systems and malicious inputs. It's fooling, facial recognition, and other AI-based security measures. Um, so for adversarial AI attacks, that involves feeding AI systems with carefully crafted inputs, could trick them into making incorrect decisions. So, for example, attackers might introduce subtle changes like to images or audio files to deceive facial recognition or speech recognition systems. I think another great example I just came to mind. You may have heard where someone is playing on, poor old grandma, um, where they'll play like a voice recording or voicemail to grandma saying, I'm in help. I need, I don't know, $2,000, or, running into some trouble. So unsuspecting grandma thinking it's their relative will more than okay, I'll help you. I'll send that money over because I want to help my grandson or granddaughter. And but now the attackers won because now they're able to learn about the you had that familiar contact, in this case, in this example, using, grandson or granddaughter, and then now is using that to their advantage to increase that chance of being successful with their attack, and in this sense, they're able to get that, $1 or $2,000 or whatever the case is, whatever it is that they was trying to pursue. Um, so that's where you see it used in those type of uh, examples. So if you're looking at fooling facial recognition, other AI-based or security measures, so adversarial AI attacks, they can compromise the security of AI-powered systems such as facial recognition, biometric authentication. So biometrics, of course, is like fingerprints. Facial recognition is part of that as well. Iris or retinal scans, gait, like as the way you walk. That is actually part of biometrics as well. Um, and also voice recognition. And as I just mentioned previously. So yeah, biometric authentication, autonomous vehicles. We're starting to see a lot of that now, actually. With Tesla, kind of leading the charge in that sense. We're starting to see more of those type of vehicles on the road. When it comes to autonomous vehicles, I actually recently I just saw something where uh, Elon Musk, he has the cyber, no, he has a cyber truck, but like the cyber taxi, I believe. So yeah, and that is completely, I think that's designed to be completely autonomous, like no driver in the car. So I don't know about you, but I really don't feel comfortable sitting in a car with no driver because what if? the cyber mind in me is like, okay, what if it gets hacked and someone takes it over? Then now what? Um, Actually, another probably great example for those. You could watch a great movie that came out on Netflix called "Leave the World Behind." I think that creates a great example of modern day threats. I even talked to it had not to spoil the movie, but there is a part of the movie where it kind of touches on the vulnerability of using autonomous vehicles. So again, yeah, Leave the World Behind should still be on Netflix. It was with Mahershala Ali, Julia Roberts, quite a few others in that movie. It's very good, so highly recommend. Um, all right, so now we look at the impact. So we have financial losses, data breaches, reputational damage, and erosion of trust in digital systems. So when it comes to financial losses, you look at successful cyber attacks can result in significant financial losses due to data breaches, say ransomware attacks, as I mentioned, the example as far as with the hospitals and operational disruptions. Data breaches, of course, we pretty much hear it's almost normal now. We're always hearing about a different breach every day, and now it's just a matter of who got hit and how much and how badly or how severe it was, the data breach, how much data was involved, or in terms of money, how much money was lost. So unfortunately, that's kind of been our norm now. You have to look at data breaches, sensitive data, including personal information, financial records, and intellectual property. They can be compromised, leading to identity theft, fraud, and reputational damage. I'm sure we all heard of, these type of things by now. And yeah, it comes identity theft. Someone is able to, get information, maybe like your social security number, credit card number, things of that nature, and be able to pose as you and, have free reign with your account, especially if you're someone who's maybe more affluent. Of course, you become more likely to be a choice of attack for a cyber criminal. So, because they know the piggy bank is larger with those type of individuals. And when we talk about reputational damage, some organizations really can't afford to get attacked because once they do get attacked, it's very hard to come up from under that. Um, you start to lose customers, lose business, of course. It could be very tough, especially again depending on how severe that attack is. So reputational damage or a data breach or other cyber attack can severely damage, organization's reputation. As I mentioned, it's going to lead to loss of customer trust and, business opportunities. Um, the erosion of trust in digital systems. So like that the increase in sophistication of cyber attacks can erode public trust in digital systems and technologies. So it's going to make someone less likely to maybe want to log online or do banking online or any of those different features that we have now is going to make people want to kind of go back, start reverting back to a time, maybe more simpler times where things weren't where something didn't have an IP address attached to it. So again, that could have an impact on that. It could hinder innovation and economic growth. Next slide, please. All right. So motivations behind, cyber attacks, like what is pushing someone to commit a cyber attack? What's the different reasons? Why would they want to do that? So I actually like this diagram here. I didn't create this one, by the way, but this actually fell in line with what I want to talk about. So as you can see here, you have, financial gain, you have insider threats, state actors, corporate espionage, um, recognition and achievement. Some like to gloat. They like to do it to gloat um, to try to show like, yes, I took down so and so. I took down Chase Bank or, whatever the case is, like it's ego pretty much. That's boils down to. Um, So you have traditional motives, of course, financial gain, espionage, hacktivism. So financial gain, the most common motivation for cyber attacks is financial gain. They're going for the money, follow the money. So often achieved through activities like ransomware, as we discussed, identity theft, again, we talked about, and fraud. Espionage, you look at corporate and state sponsored. So cyber attacks can be used for espionage purposes, both by corporations to try to get a competitive advantage, and by nation states, as I mentioned, nation state actors, like I said, North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, try to steal sensitive information and disrupt critical infrastructure. Um, critical infrastructure that's actually part of my driving force behind my dissertation. I'm looking at adversaries looking to target the U.S. Power grid. So we had examples of that where you see Russia. I know currently right now the current war between Ukraine and Russia, but this isn't the first time they've had beef. They've had some big disputes back in the day, like early 2000s, and where Russia was able to successfully take down Ukraine's power grid, and it's actually in the middle of December. It left a lot of folks I think over 200,000 customers without power in the deep cold. So, yes, again, and we're kind of seeing 2.0 again. Unfortunately, it's getting real bad between those two, but it's not the first time we've seen this. Um, Hacktivism. Hacktivists are individuals or groups who use their technical skills to try to promote political or social causes, often by attacking websites or systems associated with their targets. So we look at now, new AI enabled motivations. So you have the AI model theft, training, data poisoning, automated exploit development. So if we look at the AI model theft, criminals may target AI models and their underlying data to steal intellectual property, try to gain a competitive advantage to develop their own malicious AI applications. Training data poisoning. So attackers can manipulate the training data used to develop AI models, introducing biases or errors that can compromise the model's accuracy or effectiveness. And so when we talk about AI models, so let's say an organization is using AI to they're training like an AI tool, so that would be considered like their model, like what information is going into it, how they're training that particular model, what they want the AI to do, like what's its purpose. So that's considered like a model, so an AI model. Um, and that's what I talk about when I say that. You have automated exploit development. So AI can be used to automate the process of discovering and exploiting vulnerabilities in software and systems, making it easier for attackers to launch cyber attacks. And lastly, here we look at psychological factors. So you have curiosity and challenge, ideology and politics, and power control. Um, so so we look at curiosity and challenges. Some individuals may be motivated to engage in cybercrime due to a desire for intellectual stimulation or a sense of accomplishment. It's it's honestly that's again probably part of the ego aspect as I mentioned before. Maybe example of that would be I'm gonna give like a comic book example. Probably would be like the Riddler. Those who follow maybe the Batman comics. The Riddler, he really loved stroking his own ego by really developing these different complex riddles, and he would tie it to something very malicious for someone to solve. Because if you don't solve it, someone could either die or lose a limb or whatever the case is. But the Riddler, he loved that. That gave him that that stimulation, that intellectual stimulation that he craved. If you look at ideology and politics, so hacktivists and other individuals may be driven by ideological or political beliefs, seeking to promote their causes through cyber attacks. Yeah, and again, when we look at warfare, it's not just the traditional warfare with missiles and guns, but now cyber is has been used as part of warfare as well. So as part of, maybe political campaigns, or political causes, cyber is used in that sense. And look, lastly here, power control. So, cyber criminals may be motivated for a desire for power and control, seeking to disrupt systems, cause chaos, inflict harm on others. Again, it's money, power, and respect. They use cyber crime to achieve that. So, those who are very advanced and know what they're doing, they will use cyber. They will use cyber, to achieve what their political gain, their control. Just say, hey, I'm gonna take down your system, and that way now I'm in control. I take it over. So it could definitely be leveraged in that sense. All right. Next slide, please. So if we look at current cybersecurity measures, so we have next gen firewalls. So these advanced firewalls can inspect network traffic for malicious activity, including AI generated threats, but they may struggle to detect the sophisticated attacks that evade traditional signatures. If you look at endpoint detection and response, or EDR, so EDR solutions monitor endpoints for suspicious activity and can help detect and respond to AI powered attacks, but they may be limited in their ability to prevent attacks in the first place. And if we look at the third bullet here, security information and event management, or SIEM. So what that is, it's a security and auditing system, comprising different monitoring and analysis components. SIEM systems gather and analyze security data from, various sources, including firewalls, EDR solutions, network sensors. It's just pulling all this different sources for data, and be able to give a comprehensive answer, so that they can help identify potential threats, but may be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data generated by AI-driven attacks. So we looked at the effectiveness against AI threats, moderate success in detecting known patterns. Excuse me. Traditional security measures may be effective at detecting known patterns of malicious activity, so including some AI-generated attacks. However, they may struggle to identify, novel or new, or even highly sophisticated threats. Challenges with zero-day AI-generated attacks. So and those may not know, yeah, 0 day attacks are pretty much where you don't have a remedy, you don't have an answer for that particular attack. Um, and that's why it's called 0 day, because it's new, it's something that hasn't been figured out yet. It's not on anyone's, and it's not part of any antivirus signatures. It's something, and that's what makes it so powerful, because there's no answer for it, at least not immediately. So AI generated attacks that exploit previously unknown vulnerabilities, again, 0 day attacks, can be particularly challenging to detect and mitigate using traditional security measures. Limitations. So we have a reactive nature of traditional security. Many traditional security measures are reactive, meaning they focus on responding instead of being proactive, to threats that may have occurred, rather than preventing them proactively. You have difficulty in keeping up with AI-driven attack evolution. So AI-driven attacks, they're constantly evolving, always changing. So with that said, it makes it very difficult for traditional security measures to keep up with the latest threats. And then, lastly here, you have false positives and alert fatigue. So traditional security measures can sometimes generate false positives. So saying that there is an attack, or there's something going on your system where there's not. So it leads to alert fatigue, because, yeah, you keep getting these notifications, these alerts, and then nothing happening. Then, it can have a real impact, a negative impact on the security teams, because now, when it gets to a point where now that they're experiencing this fatigue, they may miss more legit threats that come through. So that's a real issue or problem. Next slide, please. All right. So look at innovative cybersecurity solutions. So for AI-powered defense systems, we look at self-learning anomaly detection. So AI-powered systems can learn normal behavior patterns and identify deviations that may indicate a security threat. So example of that, so AI power system is trained on normal network traffic patterns. It can detect anomalies such as unusual spikes or connections that may indicate a cyber attack. And a couple benefits of that, it can identify previously unknown threats, can reduce false positives, and can automate the detection of anomalies. Um, So look at proactive and adaptive strategies. You look at continuous security validation. So organizations should continuously validate their security posture to ensure their defenses are effective against emergent threats. Um, so example of that, an organization conducts regular scans and penetration tests to identify system weaknesses. They can help identify and address vulnerabilities before they're exploited. They could improve the organization's overall posture. It can also ensure compliance with industry standards. If you look at AI-driven penetration testing, AI can simulate attacks and identify vulnerabilities in the org's system. So, example of that, an organization that uses an AI-powered tool to simulate various attacks on the system, such as a SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and buffer overflows. And some of the benefits, it can identify vulnerabilities that traditional testing methods may miss, can help organizations prioritize security efforts, and improve organizations' overall security posture. If you look at dynamic policy enforcement, security policy should adapt to changing threats in businesses, as we discussed, how important it is to evolve and stay with the times. Um, if we look at emerging technologies, quantum resistant cryptography is quantum computing, technology advances. It's essential to develop cryptographic algorithms, resistant to quantum attacks. So, for example, post-quantum cryptography algorithms like lattice-based cryptography, code-based cryptography are being developed to resist attacks from quantum computers. A couple benefits of that: it can protect sensitive data from future quantum attacks, can ensure the long-term security of digital communications and transactions. Federated learning for privacy preserving AI. So that it'll allow organizations to train AI models on their data while preserving privacy. So, for example, multiple organizations can collaborate or work together to train a shared AI model on their data without sharing the raw data. So, examples of that, or excuse me, benefits of that would be, it can enable organizations to benefit from AI without compromising privacy, like facilitate collaboration between organizations. Um, and I'm gonna go down here. So the last one, yeah, explainable AI for better threat analysis. It can help security teams understand the reason behind AI-driven decisions, so it makes identifying and addressing potential threats easier. So, example, an AI system can be designed to explain its decisions, such as why it flagged a particular activity as suspicious. So it kind of gives you that full background, that full, answer behind something, and that way helps you to be more informed on how you want to proceed. So again, so a benefit of that can help security teams understand the reasoning behind AI-driven decisions. Can help reduce the risk of false positives and false negatives. Can improve the overall effectiveness of security operations. And I think that's why I mentioned we talk about different AI tools. For me, my favorite is Perplexity because again, it does give you that background or like sources behind the output that it gives, so that way you're able to validate the data that you receive. Next slide, please. All right. So when we look at a collaboration for a secure future, we have to stress the public and private partnerships. So looking at sharing threat intelligence, joint research and development initiatives, security workforce development programs. Um, so we're looking at cybersecurity workforce development programs. Governments and private sector organizations can work together and develop and train a skilled cybersecurity workforce. Government agency funds cybersecurity training programs at universities and community colleges. A big example of that. As you see here in the picture here, in the bottom right, Jen Easterly, the director of CISA, or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency. They are the cyber arm of DHS. We have here in the middle there, NSA, the National Security Agency, with the um, with NSA's solution for more collaborative approach with the public for cybersecurity solutions. Um, so when we look at the role of policymakers, we see there in the top there, top right, the national cybersecurity strategy. So developing AI governance frameworks. So governments play a critical role in developing and implementing AI governance frameworks that address AI's technologies, both ethical and security implications. Government agency develops guidelines for the ethical and responsible development and use of AI technologies. You want to incentivize cybersecurity investments so governments can provide incentives for businesses to invest in cybersecurity, such as tax breaks or grants. International cooperations on cyber norms. Governments can work together to develop and enforce international norms of behavior in cyberspace, help to prevent and mitigate cyber attacks. So when we're looking from building a global ecosystem, you look at cross-sector collaboration platforms. You're creating platforms for collaboration between different sectors such as government, industry, academia, and civil society can foster a more unified approach to cybersecurity. Open source tools and standards, promoting the development and adoption of open source security tools and standards can help level the playing field that makes cybersecurity more accessible. And also like regular global cybersecurity summits, regular summits and conferences can be of immense value, can provide opportunities for stakeholders from around the world to discuss cybersecurity challenges and solutions. Um, Actually, there's one point I did want to make sure I touched on was so looking back at the public and private partnership. So we look at joint research and development initiatives. So public and private partnerships, they could drive innovation in cybersecurity by funding joint research projects and developing new technologies. I think that's very key. So like a government agency partners with a technology company to develop a new AI powered cybersecurity tool. Um, yeah. Go next slide. So here's some of the takeaways as we wrap up here. So part top takeaways. So AI is both, a powerful tool and a significant cybersecurity threat. So it can be used for good and bad, depending on who has it. Collaboration and innovation are crucial to stay ahead. As I mentioned, innovative. We have to stay alert. We have to stay on top of the latest trends and what's going on. And part of that feeds into continuous learning and adaptation are necessary. So you want to make sure that your organization or your networks are using the latest to make sure you're hardening and protecting your system against those evolving threats that are always going to change. Um, so call to action, we need to invest in AI powered security solutions. Participate in cybersecurity sharing is very important to have those partnerships, so that way we're stronger as a whole. Stay informed about emerging threats and technologies. It's very important just to be in the know what's going on, so that way you can best protect yourself and your company. Excuse me. And resource for further learning is cybersecurity and AI research centers, industry conferences and webinars, online courses like this, and certifications. Those are great resources where we can just stay abreast of know what's going on, and that way we could make sure that we're staying aware of the latest trends. And that is all I have. Any questions?
This is, oh, there I go. This is absolutely wonderful. Dr. Burt Miller, I do not see any questions in the chat, but I'm just going to take another quick look. So I don't see where our attendees post any questions for you, but I think that this has been wonderful information that we can all take back to our.
Actually, I do see
Oh, okay,
in the chat here.
sure.
Um, so I'll read the first one,
There it is.
Julia. She said the presentation was a fun one. Time went by quickly. Oh no, she's asking for questions. Okay, so Kenji, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. All right, so your question was if you were a newbie trying to transition to cybersecurity, where would you start? Okay, great question because I think probably one of the biggest maybe arguments is whether you should focus on education or as far as traditional education or certifications or again try and get that experience and especially now the to me I believe and honestly for me I have all three. My doctor is in cybersecurity. I have multiple certifications, of course, getting the hands-on experience. But for those someone who's trying to get started, I would focus on getting the hands-on experience. Um, because when you're going working for an organization, one of the first things they want to do, they want to know that you can make an impact, that you can come on board and be in their team and be able to help. 'Cause a lot of times, um, they may not have the adequate resources to necessarily train you into uh, on how to operate or how to run a system. So they if you're going in having that experience already, having some sort of experience, so it's very important you see folks that will create or work on home labs. We have a lot of different resources where you can access such as Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, a lot of different online resources. Cisco Packet Tracer. Again, there's a lot of different online resources that you could utilize and just train. Be a home train, and then also document what you've done. A lot of folks will create a blog or maybe a YouTube channel, document everything you do. So now when you go into that interview for that first job, they're not just based off what you say in your resume. Hey, also too, check out my blog. I document everything that I've done, or you could see me on my YouTube channel, all the stuff that I've done that I talk about on my resume, and that'll help you to stand out amongst those because I think the problem is a lot, especially around the pandemic, where a lot of people were transitioning, changing careers that were losing jobs, and they looked to IT and cyber as a viable option. So you did have a lot of people it kind of saturated the market a bit where a lot of folks may be going for like their security plus certifications or network plus certifications so they can get in. So now you have a lot of people with these certs wanting and security plus is more of the foundational certs. So A plus, security plus, and network plus, they're more the foundational certs and where you can build off from there. But when you have too many now, kind of going for that, like it makes it very hard for people to find jobs if you don't already have some sort of experience. So now it is, whether fair or not, as an employer, or hiring manager, they're looking for someone who has some experience, not just a certification to their name. Now, for me, like when I started, that was that's how it was for me. Like all I had, I just started out with my bit of I was in my bachelor's then at that time, computer information systems, and then a couple of certs I was working on, but that was it. I didn't have any I guess professional hands-on experience outside of maybe what I tinkered with at home. But yeah, but now it is I think it is harder for someone to get into the to the market now if you don't have some sort of experience trying to get in. And then once you do get in, to the organization and you do want to still pursue those certifications or maybe degrees or whatnot, leverage your training department. As soon as you get in, say, hey, and they'll be more apt to support you. Of course, that it aligns with your job. Of course, they'll fund it because it's a win-win because it's of course you're becoming more proficient and also you could utilize those skills back for the company and then that way you could see promotions and things like that and you know so again I think when you're starting out focus on experience and then you can get the degrees and certifications later.
Beautiful. Perfect. So I see that Julia's taking lots of notes and posting them in the chat for everyone to see as well. This has been great information, Dr. Burt Miller. You have your contact information here on the screen. So this is available for
Yeah.
anyone who may want to reach out with questions or any other type of inquiries related to what Dr. Burt Miller has presented on today. I think it's been awesome. This has been
All
very,
right.
very enriching, just as I thought it would be. So I believe
Thank
that
you.
we have received today a lot of nuggets and information that we can take back to our offices, professions, employers, and enhance the profession all together with this information. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to present and be with us today. I have here on the screen just a little bit of information about the qualified so that you can follow us on our social media platforms as well and stay tuned and up to date on what we have available for you all. Our website again is listed at the bottom right screen, so please do check us out to learn more about the qualified. And we have another Brunch and Learn coming up next month. So we're wrapping up our 2024 Brunch and Learns. We have Thursday the 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We will be meeting with another health information or industry professional to enlighten us in a great way. CEUs, of course, are offered for these events, so please do stay tuned for more information. Now, if you're in the audience and you are interested in presenting at one of our Brunch and Learns in the future, please email us at events@the-qualified.com. So that's everything for now, everyone. It's been a pleasurable time together. I hope you excel today and in your future, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.